Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, being a good person, following the rules, but deep down, something still felt off? Maybe you've wondered, is this all there is? What else do I need to do? There's a story in the Bible about a man who had it all: wealth, status, and a reputation for being good. He came to Jesus with this exact question: what must I do to inherit eternal life? At first, Jesus told him, follow the commandments. And the man confidently replied, I've done all that. But then Jesus looked upon him, loved him, and said, you lack one thing. Go, sell all that you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come, follow me. The man walked away sad. Why? Because he couldn't let go of what he thought would make him happy. He didn't trust that Jesus could give him something greater. I used to think I couldn't relate to the man in the story, but the truth is I've lived much of my life exactly like him. In my first video, I shared how I thought my faith was holding me back. But here's the nuance. I didn't publicly reject Christianity or become some passionate atheist. Instead, I stayed in the church externally, went to mass, said the right things, but internally, I had really stopped believing. Like the rich young man, I was clinging to my own possessions. For me, it wasn't money. It was my pride, my fear of rejection, pleasure, and my need to control how people saw me. What made it worse is that from the outside, I looked like a practicing Catholic, but inside, I was distant from God. Living this way didn't just hurt me, it hurt many others too. People assumed I was acting out of genuine Christian belief, but I wasn't. And that hypocrisy created a lot of confusion and pain. This is why the story of the rich young man resonates so deeply. His possessions weren't just physical. They represent anything we're afraid to let go of. Our reputation, our comfort, our relationships, or even our own plans for life. It's easy to stay in that place, going through the motions, convincing ourselves we're doing enough. But deep down, we know when we're holding back. For years, I held back. I was scared of what saying yes to Jesus would cost me. But when I finally stopped walking away and decided to trust him, everything changed. Letting go wasn't easy. I had to confront parts of myself that I didn't want to face. I had to give up the things that I thought I couldn't live without. But what I found on the other side was worth it. Now going back to the story of the rich young man, when Jesus looked upon him, and it says Jesus loved him, it wasn't just a glance of pity. It was a deep, knowing love. Jesus saw the potential of this man if he let go of his possessions and truly followed him. Jesus understood that this act of surrender was the path to fulfillment, peace, and true joy. That look of love was Jesus' invitation to a life that could be so much more than whatever this man was holding on to. When Jesus says, you will have treasure in heaven, it's not just about some far future in the distance. Heaven isn't just a place we go after we die. What is it? Well, by definition, heaven is the dwelling place of God. And by the very fact that God became flesh in Mary's womb on earth, heaven is no longer in some unknown dimension. It's here, now, on earth, in time. Jesus came to make heaven tangible. He dwells in us and among us right now if we allow him to. When we follow Jesus, the treasure he promises isn't just for later. It's something we can, in many ways, experience here on earth. His joy, his peace, and his presence become treasures that fill our hearts even now, even in the midst of many sufferings. Following Jesus isn't about being miserable now so we can be happy later. It's about stepping into the fullness of life that he offers, right here, right now, even in the midst of trials, even in the midst of joys and challenges. And I'm learning over and over again that this journey of growing in faith isn't about doing more and more things right. It's about growing in trust. It's about reminding myself, especially when I fall, that God rejoices in our friendship. That's the heart of it, not perfectionism. That's what I didn't understand before. I thought following Jesus was just about what I had to give up, but it's really about what I receive. And what I receive is Him, His love, His presence, His friendship, His fulfillment. The cost of following Jesus is real. It means surrendering the things we hold on to so tightly. But the joy of knowing Him is infinitely greater than anything we leave behind.